What would you do if I told you that there was a single concept within Christianity that could settle several of the most major doctrinal disputes between different Christian denominations? Meet Covenant Theology, which developed as an idea throughout church history, being fully developed by Heinrich Berliner in the 1500s. But first, what is Covenant Theology? To put it simply, it is the attempt to find maximum continuity between the Church of the Old Testament, also known as Ancient Israel, and the Church of the New Testament, also known as modern Christendom. This means that any rule of faith that existed in ancient Israel must also exist in the modern church. For example, in Colossians, Paul equates circumcision and baptism, which makes sense, as in the Old Testament, people would become members of God's covenant and receive spiritual regeneration from the Holy Spirit when they were circumcised. And that's what baptism does to us today. And because they are thus fundamentally the same sacrament, even if outwardly they appear different, if circumcision was given to babies, then our babies should be baptized as well. We can also know from this method that sola scriptura must be true, because if in the Old Testament the church was very clearly not infallible and needed correction from the Bible when it fell into error, then the modern church should also not be infallible and need correction from the Bible when it falls into false doctrines today. This is also how we can know that the church is in fact the New Israel, not modern-day Rabbinic Judaism. It's also from this that we know that there should only be two sacraments, baptism and the Eucharist, because the only sacraments in the Old Testament were circumcision and the Passover meal, with circumcision being replaced by baptism and the Passover meal being replaced by the Holy Eucharist. I think we can also use this method to support the episcopacy that we see in Anglicanism and the Eastern churches, where the church is governed by several regional monarchs, and that's what the Old Testament Jews had, or they only had one leader at one time because the church was not that large. But now that the church is a global institution, we need several of these leaders to govern different regions of the church, and that is the episcopate. We can also get from this method some other beliefs which aren't exactly denominational differences but still important. Things like how the Ten Commandments still apply to us today because they applied to the Old Testament church and are never nullified in the New Testament, and also Sunday being the Sabbath. Deus benedictat.